Starting now. So hello and welcome to you all once again. This is the final part of our Spina trilogy. I have been wanting to do this for absolute forever, and it's been a very exciting 3 weeks to have had father, son and mother all contribute, and for other people to have a little taster of the amazing things that are happening in our town, all contained within one family. And so with that, I would like to introduce Isaac Spina, the astrology guy. Hi, Isaac.
Hi, Taryn. Hi, everybody.
Welcome to your first meetup online, although you've had a few practices with Zoom, with school lately.
Yes, yeah. Oh, I'm an expert by now with all the Zoom we've been doing.
I love that. So I've got an expert Zoomer with me tonight. And Isaac was feeling a little bit nervous earlier on,
Yep.
but I think most of his friends have signed up to watch him. So Isaac, please be reassured that everybody who's coming on tonight absolutely loves and adores you and loves all the energy that you put out and all the information that you share with us. So Isaac, what we might first start is telling the people, some of the people may not have met you before. Perhaps you want to tell them a little bit about yourself, because, you know, they might be thinking, well, Taryn, you've had all these adults here. Why is it that you've got an 18-year-old giving us information? But you're a very special adult. Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yes. So, as I like to say, I'm 18 going on 50.
Yes.
I'm a bit of a different bottle of wine. I have Asperger's, which is it kind of makes me a bit different in a way where I'm able to recall more information and have a higher level of learning, like Albert Einstein, all those kinds of people. So I've been able to learn my astrology and just go on with it and literally live and breathe, because when I get into a hobby or a passion, I'm just living and breathing it.
So unlike us normal neurotypicals, we're a bit boring in comparison.
I don't think the word normal exists. We're all different.
And I think that's where the word neurotypical comes up. You know, the Asperger's brain is pretty special, because when you are really interested in a subject, you go fully immersed and you retain all these incredible facts. So, you know, you come with a wealth of information, and you probably know more about astrology than some neurotypicals who've been studying it for a few years.
Well, I'd like to think so.
Well, I would agree wholeheartedly that, you know, when you say things, a lot of wisdom comes out of your mouth, and there's a lot of trust there that you deliver it with the most beautiful intent as well. So, Isaac, how on earth did an 18-year-old boy get into astrology?
Well, so before I tell the story, I just need to tell you all something that you should probably know about me is that I love to talk. And sometimes I can be a bit of a rambler, but I'm not a boring rambler. I'm a entertaining and intriguing rambler. So onto the story now. So this is really helpful to know that I was starting my own essential oils blend I was going to sell and market. And I actually did that, and it went very successfully. But while I was doing that, I was getting my oils made up by the amazing Anna from Aromatics for Wellbeing. Anna's also a very good friend of mine, and so we were making up the oils, and I had no idea what astrology. Well, I knew what astrology was. I'm not going to lie, I thought it was interesting. I didn't entirely. I thought there was some link between the stars and our birthdays and like the Zodiac signs, but I didn't really believe much of it, because and I'll tell you why later on. But I went there, and Anna dropped the bottle, but it didn't smash. And she said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm a Pisces." And I said, "Oh, a Pisces is very clumsy." And she said, "Yeah, Pisces are known to be super clumsy." And I said, "Oh, okay, well, I'm a Sagittarius. What does that mean?" And she kind of went on to talk about Sagittarius and how it was this controversial sign. And I was interested from then, because I love controversy. So I wanted to research it and study it. So I hopped online and started looking up Sagittarius and all the other star signs. And soon enough, I actually got really hooked onto it. So that's kind of how I got into it. And I just non-stop studied it for ages, I was living and breathing it.
You know, Isaac, it's really interesting because I made a post about you speaking, an 18-year-old boy speaking to us, or an 18-year-old man speaking to us.
I like to say that I've got old Roger trapped in there.
Okay. Roger that. So, and one of the ladies who didn't know you just wrote down, she said, oh, I bet you he's a Sagittarian because they really love getting into astrology. So she must have known her star signs too.
Yeah. Well, Sagittarians, Gemini, Scorpios, those signs go really hard for Aries. They go really hard for astrology. And I think you'll find it's because they're all the controversial signs. So they want to know more about it.
Ah, that's really interesting. So now, Isaac, you are ideally placed to tell us a little bit about our uncertain times that we've been experiencing lately, because we all come into this world under a zodiac sign.
Yes.
And, you know, that determines and affects, you know, how we think or how we behave or how we perceive the world. So you were going to speak to us tonight about, you know, how the different signs might be affected by stress during this time. Yes. So do you want to go into that now?
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to. So so we all come into the world as a zodiac sign, and I'll get to this after I've talked about this. But we all come into we don't just come into the world as one zodiac sign. We actually come into the world, they call it a birth chart. And a birth chart basically means you have all these different placements from the planets, and each planet gives you your own different star sign that influences your personality. So a common misconception people have about astrology is that, oh, there's all the star signs. They're all just so, like, I'm a Sagittarius. I don't relate to most of the Sagittarius traits. People say, oh, you relate to every trait of the star sign, but that's not how it works. You have all these star signs and it's like an onion. Your birth chart's like an onion, and each chart is so very different from the other chart. And all this is based off of how the time you were born, the location, and the date. So that's how that works. So, and now I wanted to put you all at ease, and you're about to really love what I'm about to tell you. And so where the planets are at the moment, I'm not quite sure. I don't remember exactly what planets are where, because this isn't my area of specialty. There's a lot of different branches of astrology, but I just thought that I found this out, and I just thought you'd really love to know that where the planets are positioned right now is where the planets were positioned when World War II finished. They're the same position as when the Great Depression finished, Industrial Revolution. So a lot of really revolutionary times in our history. So I do believe that we're going into a time where the world won't be the same as we know it, for all the right reasons.
That's really reassuring. Thank you for that. You did say that you had a little bit of good news for us.
Yes. Well, there always needs to be good news, because there's got to be some things that cut, but there's got to be some good news as well.
Mm-hmm. So in particular, is there one zodiac sign that might be stressing a little bit more than any of the other signs at this moment?
Earth signs and air signs. So if you don't know about the elements, there's fire, earth, water, and air. I am a fire sign. The air signs are Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini. So those three signs will be finding it really difficult at the moment. And the other three signs is Virgo, Taurus, and Capricorn. Those three will also be finding it very difficult, because those star signs tend to live in their head and they worry a lot and overthink.
Okay, well, I'm an overthinker, and Your mum's a Libran. I'm going to dob her in.
I'm a Gemini moon.
And so, so for those signs, do you have advice for them?
Well, I'm actually getting to that. So I'm going to talk about each star sign really quickly and how I'll touch on how they cope with stress, and I'll give each star sign their advice.
Brilliant.
But I'm going to move on and talk about how it is a very stressful time at the moment, which is why I think it's really important to be talking about how to cope with stress based on your star sign, and knowing your star sign and your entire birth chart, which we'll talk about later, is really beneficial to know in terms of knowing yourself and knowing what you need to help yourself. So each of the star signs all are different. Every single person of every star sign is different from one another. No two Aries are the same. No two Geminis are the same. So if you're a Gemini, she's a Gemini, and you're thinking, I'm not like her at all, you're not going to be the same. You're not going to relate to your star sign 100%. I don't. I don't have any Virgo on my chart, and I relate to Virgo out of all the other star signs. So I'll go on about the different star signs now, about how they cope with stress. So for each one, I'm going to kind of talk about what they tend to do when they're stressed, the two things that they hate when they're stressed, and advice. So I'll start with Aries, since they're the start of the zodiac. So Aries, when they're stressed, they're people that like to be in control. And also I'll mention that I'm going to talk about, although we might not have every single star sign in here tonight, I wanted to just talk about every star sign, because although we might not have every sign here, it's good to know in case you are in a relationship with that star sign, your children might be that star sign, you might have a relationship in the future with that star sign. So it's good to know all of this. And, even if you're not particularly interested in one star sign, it might just be a good time to kind of reflect. So I'll start with Aries. So when Aries are stressed, they love to amp it up. So they are people that hate admitting that they're stressed. They want to do things, overachieve. They want to take control. They love to be the boss, and they love organisation. So they'll be going around the house, cleaning. They'll just be out working. They'll probably be doing workouts, all that kind of stuff. They just need to be moving constantly for them to be flourishing. So the one thing that I'm going to say about Aries is that they do when they're stressed. What they do is when they're stressed is they tend to be very bossy, and they need to be in control. And this can be really hard for the people around them. But it's good to know that that's the way they cope. They put this shield out so that when they're in stress, they have somewhere to fall back on. It's like comfort for them, being super dominant. So the one thing that Aries hates when they're stressed is sympathy. Aries don't like sympathy. Most Aries I know don't like sympathy. And if you're an Aries and you don't mind a bit of sympathy every now and then, or sympathy doesn't bother you, it's probably because your chart's probably very different. And that's, again, like I said before, that's something we'll touch on later. But Aries, when Aries, they hate sympathy. So if you haven't known Aries that's stressed at the moment or going through a rough time, don't, whatever you do, go around to their house with a tray of cupcakes. Let them know that you're thinking about them, but don't come with cookies baked, because it'll really deflate their ego. So that's the one thing that they don't like when they're stressed. And if I was to give them advice, it would be just to take charge. Just take charge in your life. Keep taking charge. If you feel a bit scattered, do some exercise. Really good for the soul. Okay, so I'll move on to Taurus. I'll make it a little bit quicker than that. So Taurus, when they're stressed, they love to, so when Tauruses are stressed, they love food. So they love to comfort eat. And will anybody judge me if I wipe my nose? Sorry.
There's a lot going on, Isaac, when you're doing your first bit of talking.
I know, I've been wanting to sneeze this entire time.
And the throat gets dry and, you know, everything else happens and you break out in a sweat. So you're doing really, really well. You're doing extraordinarily really well. And I think that your parents are probably sitting and thinking, oh my goodness, how does he know all this stuff? He's so smart. Yeah, so I'm sure it's a very proud moment. Okay, back to you, Isaac.
I got the eucalyptus around me, so I'm all good.
Okay.
So the one thing, so with Tauruses, they love to comfort eat. And this can be a bit of a problem sometimes, because just try not to eat too much. That Taurians love comfort. One thing that they need is security. They love security. They love to feel secure in their finances. They love to feel secure in their relationships. They hate change. So Tauruses out of all the signs are probably going through, I think, the hardest time at the moment, poor Taurus, because they're dealing with all this change. There's all this uncertainty around. They love certainty. They have no idea of where their finances is heading. It's just a mess for them at the moment. And even if it's not, it is in the world, and that will really get to them. So one of the things for Taurians is to just take it easy, just to take some deep breaths, maybe do some meditation, just to really get into your body and out of your mind. So, and Tauruses are the last people that you would think are struggling, because they have brick walls. They put brick walls up all the time. They want everyone to think that they're this really strong, solid person, which they are, that can get through this hard time. So they won't want to let people in for support, but they just know that they are going through a difficult time at the moment. And the one thing that Taurians hate during stress is uncertainty, which is pretty out in the open at the moment. There's a lot of uncertainty going around. So that's going to be a real big challenge for them. So on to Gemini. So with the Geminis, their biggest thing is their mind is about 1,000 miles an hour. And I can really relate to this because my moon sign's Gemini. And I'll just really quickly tell you that your moon sign is basically your soul star sign. So you have your sun sign, which is like your exterior, whereas your soul, that's who you are deep down. That's what lives on through you. So that's what your moon sign is. So my soul, as I like to say, I'm a Sagittarius with a Gemini living inside of me. So the Gemini, you're overthinking, and this is a really difficult time because you'll be thinking, oh, what's going to happen now? There'll be a lot of stress, a lot of paranoia. You'll be thinking, you'll be thinking what's going to happen next, what's going to happen in the future. It'll just be a mess up there. But the one thing, you can't let it get to your personal life. You have to try and keep it inside your head. And ways to get it outside of your head is if you want to get it outside of your head, it's really good to do things like exercise. Exercise is really good. Cooking, spending time with people, all those things make you more present and they get you outside of your head. So that's my best advice for Geminis. On to Cancerians. So Cancer is a water sign, which means they're a bit more emotional than the other elements. They're emotional, well, not emotional, but they feel emotions harder than other people. They're sensitive. So this sensitivity will be getting to them at the moment, and they feel other people's emotions too. So if they have a friend that's going through a hard time, it's going to really affect them. Probably a lot more than their friends would even be affected. So what Cancers tend to do when they're going through stress is they tend to shut off. They shut people off. They kind of like to shut people out because they like to deal with things by themselves. They like to lock themselves at home. They they can be quite homebodies, which works at the moment because we're all in quarantine. But they like to keep themselves, they're the Netflix people. So one thing for Cancers is get out of your shell, start talking to your support networks, because you have so many support networks around. Talk to friends, open up, just let people in is my really best advice. Cancers will also be a bit snappy towards people because they're going through the motions, and because they're ruled by the moon, whenever a full moon, whenever there's a full moon, they're just all over the place in general, so it'll be an extra difficult time for them. On to Leo now, so we're about just over halfway through. So Leo's a very proud, confident, boisterous, charismatic star sign. All the fire signs don't like to admit defeat when they're stressed, so they all like to be confident. They'd love to take control. They'd love to go out and sort of do that. So just like I said about the Aries. So they don't like sympathy either. You can tell them you're thinking about them because they love that. They'd love to know that other people are thinking about them, because they love being noticed by people. So one thing that they tend to do when they're stressed is they overdo it. They just overdo themselves in terms they might be they'll go overboard with their humour. They just like to block things out like that by just being their self about times 1,000. So I hope that makes sense. My advice for Leo is just to get into, most of the advice will be to get into your body, because getting into your body, meditating, exercising, mindfulness is the best way to be present. And yes, I'm guilty. I'm not usually present and I need to work on my meditation more. So the next sign after this is Virgo. So Virgos are another star sign that will be going through they'll be going through a really difficult time as well, because they're another earth sign, and Virgos are very paranoid individuals. They're the kind of people I say they get a headache and they think they have a brain tumor. So they'll get a little tickle of their throat and they'll think, oh, I have the coronavirus. They'll just be super stressed at the moment. So it's just, I think for them, the best thing to do is just for them to clean. They love to cleaning. So cleaning their house will give them a better self of organisation, because the one thing that they need, getting in dry throat, the one thing they need at the moment is organisation, because that's what grounds them, is organisation. So whether it's organising things for work, organising the house, that will really help Virgos get into their soul. So the next star sign after Virgo is Libra. So I have a lot of Libras around me. And I usually like to say that I live in quite a bit of a Libra sandwich. So yes, I live in a Libra sandwich. I've been raised by two Libras. Both my parents are Librans. My best friend's a Libran. My auntie's Libran. So a bit of a Libran sandwich. So I know this sign particularly well. Librans, they think a lot and they weigh up a lot of things in their mind. So they have the ability to see things from all different angles. And Librans are truth seekers. They're truth seekers and they're justice seekers. So they won't be worried about getting the coronavirus. They won't be worried about spreading the coronavirus. They'll be worried about the economy. They'll be worried about other people. They'll be worried about the laws, which Prime Minister's doing a better job than this Prime Minister. So they're like that at the moment. Sorry.
That's okay, Isaac. I'm enjoying watching your parents' facial expressions in the background as you discuss the Libran sandwich.
Yeah. So, yeah. So with the Librans, they, sorry, just gotta, so sorry about this. It's like my sinus knows when I'm meant to be doing something important. So Librans, yeah, they'll be wanting to know, is this real? Is this coronavirus real? Is it a conspiracy theory? So that's what they'll be doing at the moment. And they'll be swaying from each side of the pole like about 1,000 different times. One minute they'll be thinking that the coronavirus is a conspiracy theory. Next minute they'll be treating it very seriously. So they're a bit all over the place in terms of that. They're very indecisive. So my advice to Libras is make up your mind about something, really commit to it, and it'll really ground you if you make that decision, because Librans are all about justice, decisions, knowledge. So seeking that and committing to it is really important for them. So we're nearly through the 12 star signs. So the next sign is Scorpio. Now Scorpions they'll be going through an interesting time as well, because they're water signs, so they're extra sensitive, and when they're going through stress, they like to sort of close off like the Cancers. The Scorpions are very private people. So if they're going through a really rough time, it's very unlikely for you to hear about it. They like to deal with things themselves. And so my advice to them is to sort of talk to people, because having a conversation with someone, even though it doesn't 100% solve, it really helps. It really goes a long way. And this is through personal experiences as well, just talking to somebody about it, getting it off your chest. Don't keep it inside. Letting things burrow is probably, and this is just my opinion, probably my experiences doesn't work. So yeah, it's not a good, burrowing, it's good to just talk about it. So on to Sagittarius, which is my star sign. The Sagittarians, we're a bit all over the place. When we think things aren't working out, we tend to run. We'll avoid our feelings by reading a book, watching a movie, Netflix, little things like that. And the Saggies let's just say that Saggies are going through a really rough time at the moment, because the Sagittarians are our world travelers. So they'll be finding it difficult that they won't be able to travel, because travel is their way of escaping. They love learning about other cultures and knowledge. So they'll be finding it really hard to be cooped up at home during quarantine, because they're star signs that seek freedom. The one thing that they really need is freedom. That's what grounds them, is freedom. So my advice to Saggies is you don't have to be cooped up at home like a chicken. You can go out, go for a walk, do some exercise, just go out in the backyard. You can go to someone's house as long as it's like under two people. So, and our Saggies, they're the extroverts, so they'll be finding it extra challenging, because our extroverts, I'm feeling for our extroverts at the moment. I'm 50% extrovert, 50% introvert. It depends on my mood. But so yeah, that's my advice to Sagittarians. So the next star sign is nearly done, is Capricorn. Now Capricorn, when they're stressed, they push all their feelings to the side and block it out and just focus on work. They're workaholics. They love getting things done in the workplace. They love getting things done around the house, organisation-wise, like the Virgos. They'll love cleaning. So they're very work-oriented, and sometimes this might leave a bit of time out for family. This might leave family out of the picture. So, and my advice to them is leave some family time, because connecting with people is one of the best ways that you're going to reset, because Capricorns need to reset. And don't avoid your feelings, face them front on, because facing them front on is going to help you get rid of them earlier rather than later. So on to the second last sign now, Aquarius. So with Aquarians, now Aquarians are a bit of an interesting sign, because they're the ones that I've took the longest to understand. because they're just so I took the longest to work out Aquarians because they love knowledge. They're a bit like Librans. They love to learn. They love justice, truth seeking, and all that kind of information. So with the Aquarians, when they deal with stress, they kind of like to deal with it by themselves. They like to be independent. They love to do their own thing. And this actually really works for them. They flourish. So what I've been saying to the other people is connect, connect, connect. Whereas with the Aquarians, it'll be good to have some alone time. Have some alone time to kind of find your soul. Do what you love. Do some painting, expression. Aquarians are all about expression, creativity. So that's my advice to them. Now, the last sign are the Pisceans. So with Pisces, they'll be in a world of hurt at the moment because they feel things really rough too, like the Cancers and the Scorpios, because they're extra sensitive. So what they'll be doing at the moment is they might have nights where they have little cries. They might be doing some painting because they love art and their big escape is music. So when they're stressed, they'll put the headphones on, do some drawings, listen to some music, have a bit of a cry. And this works for them. That's a really good way. Just listen to music, anything that'll get your mind off it and connect, because Pisces flourish with connection. So that's how all the 12 star signs cope with stress. And yes.
That's pretty awesome, Isaac. Pretty amazing. I sit here, just dumbfounded that you could just speak that long off the top of your head about all the signs. It's pretty impressive. If I were to ask, like you said, you were Sagittarian with a Gemini inside. So when you're talking about responding to stress, the sign you're born under is the one that you present to the world. But the one, your internal one is your Gemini. Would that stress relate then, if you were talking about the Sagittarian and the Gemini, would the stress of the Gemini be applicable to you?
Yes, that's exactly right. It would be applicable to you. And this is why it's really important to know your entire birth chart. So, and do you want me to talk about birth charts now or later on, like how to do it?
Well, why don't we do it now?
Okay. So if you don't have your phone present with you, maybe this is something you could like jot down as notes and then do it after the Zoom session. So if you have your phone, type into Google birth chart, and there should be a link at the top. It's the very top one that says Cafe Astrology. And when you get, just indicate somehow when you've gotten to there.
I'm just wondering, if people want to put their hands up or say yes. I've got everyone still on mute, Isaac.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. I imagine I've just typed it into my computer, so I imagine everyone's there if they would have gotten there by now.
So when you get into there, there'll be some tabs and some spaces, and what you'll have to do is enter your date of birth, time of birth, and location. It's all pretty straightforward. When you go into there, it'll all be provided for you. You just have to enter it in.
Okay, Isaac, on my computer, it's got the home, the shop, the horoscopes. Do you click onto the horoscopes to put that information in?
Are you on Cafe Astrology?
Yeah.
Does it have like a place where you type your name in?
Maybe I'll go up to menu for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, we might just get Christine to maybe just put the link in there into the chat box for people.
Yeah, that'd be great.
For them to see and for them to figure out.
Oh, my apologies, everyone.
I think you're allergic to something in your dad's office.
Oh, I've been wanting to sneeze this entire Zoom session.
Maybe it's a nervous reaction.
Yeah.
All these adoring female eyes upon you, Isaac.
I've got about 30,000 different eyes on me behind the computer because I'm in my dad's office.
All that iridology. So has everyone worked out their birth bits? Karen's put a love heart. Catherine's got it. Kerry said yes. So I think people have got it.
Okay. So once you have it, you should be able to scroll through and it should say, have your moon, it'll say moon, Mercury, and it'll have all these different placements. So what these basically tell you is where your placements are, and it'll tell you where your placements are, and this is what I was talking about before with how you have your birth chart. So, and that's what I do with my astrology readings. I talk about people send in that information to me instead of putting it on the website, and I explain it for them. Oh.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're not going to be going through their charts just now.
Yeah.
But that's useful for them to know in the future. So, Isaac, you were going to also talk a little bit about did you say you had some conversation bits about some of the planets that are involved at the moment?
Planets? Oh, yeah, so in your birth chart, you have your different placements. And they're all named after the planets. So you'll have your Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. And the ones I'm going to talk about are your Jupiter and your Saturn. So Jupiter is their house. So this is not what it's a lot of different things, but this is what I like to call. I refer to it as like the house of luck and fortune and success and learnings and knowledge. So, but what your Jupiter really tells you is the things that you get lucky with, like where your luck shows. And Saturn kind of shows you the lessons that you need to learn in life. Yeah. So Saturn will show you the lessons that you need to learn. So that knowing those two, Jupiter and Saturn, are going to be really helpful when it comes to stress and overcoming with it. And that's what I do in my readings as well. Because I won't tell you about each and every individual thing about Jupiter and Saturn, otherwise we'll be here until 2 o'clock in the morning.
We did do that once where we had a lovely group session and Isaac went through, the things that we can do for our star sign that will bring us luck and the things that we do that bring us poor luck. And it works really well, I think, to know all that information, and certainly is a great thing to do amongst girlfriends because you can remind each other, excuse me, you need to go full circle on that. That's where you're going to get your good luck from. So that's been brilliant, Isaac.
Yeah. So I was also going to talk about the retrogrades. So this is sort of coming to where all my knowledge is sort of led on to. So I'll for those of you that don't know what a retrograde is, because I know the name retrograde goes around a lot. There's a retrograde basically, so think of it as so all the planets orbit our solar system. You have, it's all in a race. They're all a race. All the planets are doing a big race around the sun. Some planets are faster than others. And Mercury is the fastest planet. And so it comes around 3 times a year. So when one planet passes another planet in the race, that's called a retrograde. So Mercury passes 3 different times, 3 different planets throughout the year. So there are 3 different series of dates that go throughout the year. And basically what a Mercury retrograde is the sign of intelligence, communication. So when Mercury goes into retrograde, things are scattered, things are a mess, computers will be failing, miscommunication, you'll get fallouts with friends due to miscommunication, misinterpretation of intelligence. So with the Mercury in retrograde, when a planet a Mercury in retrograde lasts within a series of dates. And if you're born within that date, you will feel the brunt of the Mercury in retrograde more than the other star signs. So we've had a Mercury in retrograde, we've had one this year, and we've got two left. So the first Mercury in retrograde happened from the 18th of February to the 9th of March. And in that period, that's sort of when coronavirus started to become a bit serious. And we all thought, okay, well, I think this is going to be a bit of a global issue. So people of the star sign Aquarius and Pisces would have been going through a really interesting time from February 18th to 9th of March. So if you're an Aquarius, if you're here tonight and you're an Aquarius or a Pisces, there's a very good chance that you would have really been out of place at the beginning of the year, mentally, in your thoughts, everything. And one of the good things to do with a Mercury in retrograde is to back up your computers, because all your communication also translates to online as well. So the second time that Mercury will go into retrograde throughout this year is from the 19th of June till the 11th of July. So I'm sorry, Geminis and Cancers, but you will be feeling a bit out of whack come this time this year. My advice to you is back up your computers. If you have files, save it in 3 different places. Don't do anything significant, like don't start new things. Work on finishing and solving things, because they're going to start to really go out of whack. And that it might not for you, but just prepare. It's always good to prepare. So the next time, and June 19th to July 11th, that's a sort of the period where coronavirus is sort of expected to settle. So it'll be an interesting time to see what happens in that next Mercury in retrograde. But think of it as, it's not a bad thing. It sounds pretty bad, but, well, it doesn't even sound bad, but it sounds shocking. But think of it as like you've got a flat tire, and the tire goes through it just keeps getting flatter and flatter until it eventually bursts, and then you pump it up and it's a beautiful brand new tire. So you'll be coming out of the Mercury in retrograde really a stronger person. So it's actually a really good thing if you're a Gemini and a Cancer. Everyone will feel it, but those two will feel it hard. So the last date for the year for Mercury in retrograde is the 16th of October to the 2nd of November. So Libras and Scorpios, yes, you will be having an interesting time later this year. In terms of your there'll be miscommunications. It's going to happen. So there'll be miscommunication. So it's really good to just prepare for that. Like I've said, I'd just be repeating myself again. So yes, they're the retrogrades.
That's really interesting, Isaac, because, you get to some people and they say, oh, look, that Mercury retrograde never affects me. And, they're not aware that it depends on what your star sign is at the time.
Yeah.
So different retrogrades will affect different zodiacs.
It'll affect everyone at least some point in time. I think it was me last year.
Sorry?
Sagittarians had it last year, so
yeah. So Isaac,
that was interesting. It was the first Christmas I had that wasn't like any other Christmas, so it did challenge me. Yeah. Sorry.
It's good to sometimes have the understanding of why things are different and why you sail through other Mercury retrogrades, but one is a killer, and it's because your star sign is being affected in that particular one. Isaac, you've been absolutely phenomenal, and a font of information and wisdom, and just incredible. What I might do is open the floor up to some questions. So we have a chat box at the moment. So if you can't find your chat box, you just look down at the bottom of your screen. It's kind of in the middle and it says chat. So you just click on that and it'll open up a box to the right of your screen, and you are welcome to place any questions that you have for Isaac in there, and he is open to answering them. So we'll do that for now, and if anything comes up, you know, else we can open it up to a conversation. But while people are putting their chats in there, Isaac, you've got a special prize for everyone. Well, not for everyone. We've got a special person's going to get it, and Christine's going to do the draw. Christine, have you got everyone's names there? Yep. Okay, Isaac, do you want to tell people?
I'm
Oh, in a Santa hat.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I have a Santa hat here.
Okay, Isaac, do you want to just quickly explain to everybody what your prize is that someone might be winning tonight?
For those of you that don't know, I have my own astrology business where I read reports on your birth chart and explain basically things I've covered tonight, but just it's individualized to you. So if you win the Lucky Door prize tonight, you will win a free birth chart report from the astrology guy. And I know some of you have already had some of these from me. So if you win tonight, if you win my chart, you will win one to gift to someone else.
It's very generous of you. Thank you, Isaac.
Congratulations. Who we already have here?
Who is it?
Charmaine.
Sorry? Charmaine.
The lucky winner for today.
Where's Charmaine? Oh, there you are. I'm going to unmute you, Charmaine. That'll make Charmaine's day.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So, if you want to follow up on that, feel free to message my page. It's called The Astrology Guy on Facebook.
Okay.
Or I'll message you and I'll give you the details on that. So congratulations.
Thank you, Isaac. Really appreciate it.
Isaac, we've got Penny, and she's asking, could you maybe explain a little bit about when people are born on the cusp of two signs?
That's a really good one. So when you're born on the cusp, you actually get traits from both of those star signs. So I'm actually very close to a cusp. I'm very close to being a Scorpio Sagittarius cusp. So I'll give you an example. If you're a Scorpio Sagittarius, actually I like the Aries Taurus example better. So just say you were born on the 20th of April. That's a cusp between an Aries and a Taurus. So you'll have that drive, you'll have that go, go, go from an Aries. But then you'll have that Taurus saying, hold on, maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe just give it another 2 months. So cusps are really torn between these two star signs. It's like they've got both sides, it's like they've got both sides talking, like tearing. It's like the cusp is a teddy bear and you've got both sides trying to rip both hands of the teddy. So yeah, they go through a lot of internal conflict. So if you're a cusp, it's really good to take on the advice about both of those star signs that you cusp on.
Okay.
You relate to them.
Kathy's asking, when is the current energy or planetary alignment going to change?
The current planet energy, well, that's something I'm not sure of at the moment because I don't specialize in that kind of astrology. Mine's natal astrology, so which is the personality profiling. But I do my research on the other stuff, but I just haven't in all honesty, haven't gotten around to that.
So Catherine says it's a great prize. Charmaine, enjoy that. And Penny's saying thank you very much to Isaac. So I'm wondering if there's any more questions. What I'm going to do is I might just unmute you all, and then that way if you wanted to talk and ask a question. Oh, mute that one. It's a bit noisy. Does anyone want to just put a question out to Isaac without typing? Well, this, Isaac, means that you've probably covered everything for everyone.
I'd like to know what's been the best thing about being raised by Librans.
In a sandwich.
A Libran sandwich.
Well, the best thing about being raised by Librans and this is a very big part of who your personality is shaped, is through your parents and what their star sign is. So because I've been raised by 2 Librans, I've been raised to have a very caring heart, to always put others first and to be very selfless, but I've also been raised to be a truth seeker and a truth speaker.
It's beautiful, Isaac. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I hope that, you know, through the last 3 weeks, firstly with Carrie and then with Sam and now with Isaac, that I've led you all on a little insight and journey into what I just have discovered as this beautiful pearl of wisdom that's sitting within our town. All 3 of them. Hey?
It'll be the dog next.
Well, you keep saying that and I keep saying no. But I'm really, you know, there's something really special about a family that each in their own part and individual way is making changes in our environment with young children, with teenagers and young adults, and then with older adults as well. So it's the most incredible thing to bear witness to. And I hope that this series with bringing all 3 of them to you in quick succession has given you a little taster of all the amazing things that this family is doing. So Isaac, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been my absolute pleasure to have you, and it's been wonderful listening to you speak. It's been wonderful watching you grow up, and I'm very proud of you. And I'm very proud of you.
Taryn.
I don't know why that suddenly came a little bit like that.
Taryn.
Yes.
Charmaine here. I just wanted to ask real quickly, seeing Sam's just got their pet there. I was just wondering if he does ones for animals too, like
reports.
Yeah, reports. And,
I actually do. I have done pets in the past.
And what is your animal star sign?
So she's a Virgo. Our little dog's a Virgo, and she's such a little Virgo. She is very particular. If her mat's not cleaned properly, she'll pee somewhere else. She's a Leo moon, so she loves attention. She'll be loving that we're all looking at her at the moment. Yeah.
So, Isaac, what if I actually know what time I was born, but what if you don't know what time you were born?
If you don't know what time you were born, you'll still have all your aspects, except for what you'll be missing one thing, which is your rising. So if you don't have your time, you won't actually know your rising, which your rising is how you come across to others on first impressions. So I'm getting off my Cancerian vibes at the moment because that's my rising sign.
Okay, that's good to know.
Any more questions before we wrap it up? No. Okay. Isaac, I think you've done an extraordinary job, and you've certainly delivered a lot of information to absorb tonight. Not only information about our own zodiac signs, which makes us all grow up a little bit to know ourselves better, but you know, knowing a little bit more about those zodiac signs of the people that live within our home. And of course, when we know more about someone who's living with us, we can be a little bit more compassionate and empathetic towards them, more understanding. And certainly while we're living in these times where we're sort of not getting much of a break from the members in our family, I think that all your information is going to be wonderful, and it'll go a long way. So thank you to everybody else for joining us tonight. It's been wonderful to see so many faces tonight. We're having a break next week, and we're going to do it fortnightly after we've had this trilogy. And the next lady we've got is Chelsea Jean, and she was a masseur and a naturopath, and she specializes in the lymphatic system. So we're doing that just before Mother's Day, all in the effort to show you how to look after yourself and give yourself a little bit of love. Looking after our lymphatic system is so crucially important for supporting our immune system and our physical body. So I'm hoping you'll all join us then. Once again, thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you to Isaac. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you,
you.
everybody, for watching the video talk.
It's a Spina family too.
It is-